Hi there, and welcome to this holistic yoga video where we're going to do a post-hike or post-long walk practice. So something that you can do pretty much straight after your walk. When you get in, have a nice cup of tea, and then do this. And your body will greatly thank you. I don't know how anyone does those huge long walks without doing a bit of yoga at the end. I don't understand it. So what you need is a belt. You can use a dressing gown belt or a yoga belt, a blanket, kind of folded. Mostly we're going to use it just to support our head and neck, and a couple of yoga blocks. Could be like some thick hardback books you could use instead. And we're going to begin by lying down. So lying down from your side, rolling onto your back, and bringing your feet a little bit further forwards. So there's a kind of a right angle in the back of your knees, walking your shoulders away from your ears. So we're going to do an exercise called arch and flatten in Hanna Somatics, or it's called floor cogs in Gary Ward's Anatomy in Motion. And it's great for training your spine, how to move when you walk and how to move when you breathe. So exhaling, roll your arms in and flatten your back. You'll feel your chin move away from your chest and your chest sink. Your lower back lengthens along the floor. And then inhale and roll your arms out. You'll feel your pelvis tilts forwards, belly relaxes and lifts, shoulder blades draw to each other, and your chest moves towards your chin, chin to chest. So you're rolling in, back flattens, chin moves away from the chest, the lower back really lengthens along the floor. And then you inhale and the back of the neck lengthens along the floor and the arch comes into the lower back. When you roll in, there's a little lift of the back of the neck away from the ground. And when you roll the arms out, there's a little lift of the lower back away from the ground. So go slowly, stay within your comfort zone. No need to go too far. You don't need to go to your end range. Feel the muscles working to draw the shoulder blades together to arch the back. And feel the muscles working in the chest and the belly, contracting to create that space in the back of the body. Good work. Just notice and feel. Stay within your comfort zone. There's no need to stretch or tense anything. And then come to your natural, easy position between those 2 points. Notice where you are. We tend to either be one or other posture a little bit predominantly. So we tend to either have a very archy back or a very kind of flat back and a tenser abdominal area. So just kind of noticing how it feels for you. And then we're going to do legs up against the wall. So rolling over onto your side. If you're not near a wall, come to a wall. You'll be about 15 centimeters away from the wall or so. Take your blanket with you. And by the way, you don't need a yoga mat to do this sequence. Just the blanket and block and the belt. And a wall. So pop your legs up on the wall. Your knees are directly above your hips. And your feet, see if you can have them sort of parallel, so they're not kind of facing each other. They're more facing towards the ceiling, towards the wall. And then have your arms out to the side. Now, if you find that your legs are flopping out like this, rolling out, and it's hard to keep them like in alignment, then grab hold of your belt and put the tail of the belt into both of those D rings and then go over the first ring and under the second. And if you have a dressing gown belt, then you can just use a knot to tie it so that it creates a loop that allows you to have your knees hip width apart. And some people, you might even have another one. If your knees stay straight but your toes turn out or your feet turn out, then you might have another belt at the top. But one is usually enough for most people. And then you're resting here. So the weight is on your sacrum, on that bony plate at the base of your spine. Your back is slightly arched away from the floor, ever so slightly. And your shoulder blades, walk them in towards your spine so you have a lovely open chest. And then rest here. And I'd rest here for a good 3 minutes or so. So I'll kind of take a little look at my watch here. And really make sure that your body is resting and relaxing. You've done a lot of work doing that long walk. You've been working those muscles hard. So now is the time to really rest them, to relax them. And also this turning upside down of the body helps the lymph flow. So it helps you to detoxify. It helps to prevent swelling in your ankles and your feet. It also gently strengthens the heart muscle. So you're having to use the heart to pump the blood up towards your toes a little bit more than when you are standing upright. So that works the heart a little bit. So even resting here, you are doing work. Really relax as much as possible though. Let go. In particular, let go around the hip crease area. If that feels difficult, you can wiggle yourself further away from the wall, but bend the knees ever so slightly. So your knees want to be just above the hips. And relax and soften in your eyes, in your jaw, in your face. So really have this feeling of letting go, melting and releasing. Tune in with your breath and imagine you're breathing all the way up to your feet, to your toes. And then on the exhale, you imagine the breath to come back down through your legs, through your spine, and then back and up again. So it's a continual kind of circle of breath. Now, if your feet do become tingly, usually it's because of low blood pressure. It might mean that you needed to have a little bit more to drink before doing your practice. Low blood pressure is associated with dehydration. So if that's the case, you might even stop and have a glass of water and then carry on. Or if you know it's just going to be like that, then you can take the soles of your feet together and knees out to the side. So only do that if you've got that tingling sensation in your feet, which is due to a lack of blood flow up there. So the other reason you might have tingling in your feet is if you have a tendency towards sciatica. So that's not ideal. You want to move further away from the wall if you have any exacerbation in sciatica symptoms, and you want to kind of arch your back a little bit more, or even put a small folded towel underneath the small of the back to create that arch. If your back is jamming down on the ground and your tailbone is pointing up towards the ceiling, this might increase sciatic symptoms, and you don't really want that. Whether you have sciatica or not, you don't want those symptoms. You want to have this slight curve in your lumbar spine and most of your weight on your sacrum, and that will offload your discs and give you a lot of space for those nerves to come out between the vertebrae and not get squashed. Beautiful. I think we're done here. So you could slide your feet down and take the belt off. And then roll over and come to lying on your side. Doesn't really matter what side. Slide your arm out so it supports your head, and you can put that folded blanket between your upper arm and your head. I'm going to do a quad stretch now. So the bottom leg stays bent and the top leg something like this. So you're holding on to your front of your ankle. Now if that feels a very long way away, and maybe if you have knee pain, this is another good reason to use your belt. And you can take that little loop that you made before, pop it on the front of your ankle, and then put the tail of the belt over your shoulder, and you can get a nice stretch there for your quads. If you're feeling like, oh, that's a bit too much of a stretch for me, this can calibrate it a bit better, so you don't have to grab hold of your foot. And you can tug that belt a little bit more, or you can slack the belt a little bit to give yourself a bit of ease. If it feels like it's tightening around your knee joint, that's not going to be great. You want to feel the stretch in your quad muscles, which are the big 4 muscles on the front of your thigh. So you want to feel it in the belly of that muscle, not so much around the knee. And you want to see, can you squeeze your buttock muscle a little bit? Really feel that squeeze of the buttock muscle can enable you to lengthen your quad muscles a little bit more. Also drawing the belly in, drawing the lower ribs in if you have a tendency to arch your back, and lengthening the spine if you've got a tendency to round your back. Think of length through the spine, openness through the chest. So nice. Staying a little bit longer here if you can. If you think about how long you've been walking for, it's good to do a bit of a long hold for the post-hike sequence. Really let those muscles lengthen, and maybe even getting into the feeling of the fascia, changing its shape, letting go of its real kind of grip. So the fascia is like shrink wrapping that surrounds the muscles, and we can kind of grow fascia into the shape that we spend a lot of time in. So this posture can be really good if we spend a lot of time sitting, because it helps us to undo any of the fascial gripping and tightening around the top of the thigh and in the hip crease that can happen when we sit a lot. So it's good to spend some time here. Okay, so that said, we're going to come to the other side. So you can roll over if you know what you're doing, especially. You can just roll over to the other side. You don't have to get up and go onto the other side of your mat. And find that comfortable position for your neck and your head. And the lower leg is kind of bent and the upper leg is stretching. So also taking care here with your shoulder of the arm that you're holding onto your foot with. So you don't want to allow the foot to kind of drag the shoulder away from the ear. You want to feel that you're controlling this grip from your upper back muscles. So pull your upper arm of the arm you're holding your foot with, pull that upper arm into the shoulder joint, squeeze that shoulder blade a little bit towards the spine, open across the chest, and kind of feel that you're not kind of dragging that upper arm out of the shoulder joint. You're actually managing that movement and locating the upper arm back in the shoulder joint. And that will help your neck and your shoulder and your upper back muscles to be more present. Another thing that can happen is this knee can kind of end up here, which is okay. It's not a balanced stretch for your quads. It'll be stretching your inner quads more than your outer quads. Ideally, you want to hover that knee directly in line with the hip. If you need to use the belt to do that, then do that. Use the belt. It's so good. Breathing here, scooping the belly in, thinking about those deeper layers of your abdominal strength. And thinking about a long spine. And also checking in that you're not tensing around your jaw or your face or your eyes. That you could really find that peacefulness within the stretch. That sense of all is calm, all is well. And that will help your muscles to release even further. And it'll help your stress levels as well. Breathing here. And it will help your stress levels as well. So breathing here and really lengthening for a bit more of a stretch. Really drawing in and relaxing as much as possible in your eyes, in your shoulder, in your jaw, in your face, in your neck, in your chest. Good work. Okay, and then relaxing there. And we're going to come to lying on our back. have your belt to one side, or have your belt near you, crossing your, say, your right leg over your left ankle. So your left, sorry. So we're going to come into eye of the needle pose, which means crossing your right ankle over your left thigh, placing the belt behind, and then drawing the belt can help you to draw your leg in towards. Now, a lot of the times people do this posture by interlacing the fingers behind their thigh. What happens then is the lower back flattens and the chin often lifts, depending on the person, and that can tense your neck, it can tense up your shoulders, it can tense up your abdomen and create more kind of pressure in the front of your spine. It's not ideal. So this way you can pull the leg in, but you can keep long in the front of your spine. So you can keep your shoulder blades on the ground, you can keep your chest open, you can keep your neck relaxed, your jaw relaxed, your face relaxed, and you can still pull in that leg enough to get that delicious stretch on your deeper glute muscles on the right side. So I really recommend the use of a belt. Here I'm lengthening a lot through the front of my spine. My lumbar spine is actually slightly lifted away from the floor. My weight is on the sacrum, but I'm still getting a good stretch because I'm able to draw the thigh in. Good, and again, stay there, soak in that stretch after your long walk. These long holds are really, really useful. So breathe and relax and let yourself kind of percolate in the pose. Just let everything rest and relax and kind of sink into the posture in a way that feels really nourishing, like you're getting the flow of blood into the areas that are stretching. Really connecting with the release of that fascial tension that can build up, that fascial hardening that can build up. So nice. And then slowly paying the belt out, bringing that leg down and putting the belt around the other leg. So you put the belt around the right leg and then cross your left ankle over your right thigh, flex your left ankle a lot, and then same thing, drawing in and holding there. So relaxing the jaw, relaxing the face, relaxing the eyes, feeling that little curve of your lower back away from the floor, that feeling of the bony plate at the back of your pelvis taking the weight, and your shoulder blades, the back of your head anchoring, and that feeling of being able to pull the thigh bone towards you, but not tucking the tailbone up towards the ceiling, not tensing the abdomen, not pushing the back into the floor. You don't want to do that. That's going to cause sort of a kind of a contraction around your spine that you don't want. You want a free flow of energy through your spine, especially when you're holding a posture for a long time. You really want to create space for flow in your spine, not shutting it down with a tense neck and a tense belly. Keep that openness, open chest, open belly, lengthen the neck, lengthen the lower back, lengthen the front of the spine. Beautiful. And you know, the whole body is doing this pose, but it's particularly geared towards releasing around the deeper glute area, around the side of the thigh, and IT band and TFL release as well here. Wonderful work. And then from there, let's undo. And you can come to another belt related stretch. So a stretch for one leg. So we did both legs with legs up against the wall, but here two legs. So So we did both legs with legs up against the wall, but here we're going to look at the legs individually. So pressing up into the inner ball of that foot and the outer ball of that foot. I'm keeping my elbows on the ground, my shoulder blades on the ground for the same reason as before. I want to keep my spine nice and long. Depending on how your hamstrings are, your leg might be here. You might find it, if you bring the leg higher up, your back pushes into the ground and your chin comes up. And you don't want that. You want that lower back lift. Slight lift away from the floor. The lumbar curve is there, not flattened. Yeah, so prioritize your spine. You want to feel a little bit of a stretch at the back of the thigh. You might feel it around the knee, and that's okay. A little bit of a stretch around the knee is okay, not too much. And you definitely don't want to feel a little murmuring here around your sit bone, around the center of the buttock, that bony bit there. Even if you feel a little sort of a murmuring, achy, kind of subtle sort of not feeling very nice there, that's something to be aware of. That's a sign that you're tugging on your hamstring attachment to your sit bone, and you don't want to do that. That's not helpful in any way. You want to come out of that so that you're not tugging on your hamstring attachment, yeah? So any murmuring around the sit bone, bring that foot forwards until it goes away. Believe me, you're still stretching your hamstring, I promise. I promise. And pulling on your hamstring attachment is not good. It literally tears the muscle fibers little by little, and that weakens you, that doesn't strengthen you. So no need to do it. Breathing here. Really imagining softening, releasing, relaxing through the back of the thigh. Even through the back of the calf. So nice. And then exhaling, lowering that leg down. If you keep the belt taut, you can put the other foot inside the belt. You can unloop it. If you've got longer legs than me, you'll have to unloop it. And holding on either side of the belt in each hand, pressing down through the foot on the ground and reaching up. Just notice how this leg might feel quite different to the other leg. It might feel more in the calf or more in the hamstring. Check out that you don't feel too much around the knee. So it's okay to feel a little stretch around your knees, but not too much. And nothing going on in your sit bone, nothing in the hamstring attachment. Flexing that ankle, reaching the heel up to include your calf in the stretch. Another nice thing is to really let the foot hang off of the belt. So you don't need to create any gripping or tightening in your hip flexor at the bottom of the leg. You want to feel that you're held, that you can almost undo, unwind, melt and soften all the tension out of that leg because you're kind of holding it with the belt. There is a little bit of work to be done with using your abdomen and your foot on the ground to hold the belt, but you kind of play around with that. So there's a little bit of holding and a little bit of engaging. And if you're feeling very, very tense in the hip flexor, be sure in this hip crease area at the top, be sure to feel deep abdominals. Scoop in and scoop up through your pelvic floor and then relax the outer muscles so that you're carrying your foot into the belt, but you're using your deep abdominals, using your pelvic floor. Breathing there. Kind of investigating all those little sensations that you find. Checking that your foot is pretty level, so you don't want it turned in or turned out. And flexing in the back of the, or flexing the ankle so that the calf can release. And you don't really want to feel it too much in the heel. It's a calf lengthening, hamstring lengthening and releasing. Not your Achilles. So again, you want to kind of leave the Achilles alone. Don't feel too much of a strong sensation there. softening and melting, and simply allowing a sense of release, relaxation, lengthening and unwinding. That's really what we're looking for after a long walk. Lovely, really beautiful. Okay, and then you could draw, well, let's take the belt off and draw both knees in towards your chest and have a little rock from side to side. Relax your jaw, relax your face, relax your eyes. Then straighten your legs. Because we did a lot of flexing there in the last two exercises, we're going to work with the glutes. So this is a very easy, simple glute exercise. Squeezing one glute. Here I'm squeezing the left and then release it. And then squeezing the right glute. This is glute maximus, and then release it. So you can see my pelvis tilts to the opposite side as I'm doing this squeezing. And that's all fine. Yeah, so just noticing one glute squeezes and releases, other glute squeezes and releases. And you can find, one glute is a little bit lazier than the other. And you might do a double dose on that side, because that's going to affect your walking gait, which is going to affect everything kind of coming upwards and going downwards from those glutes. So it can affect your shoulders and your back. So really equalizing the strength in your glutes is a very, very good thing. And you can kind of pay attention to it a little bit here in a relaxed and easygoing way. This is one of the easiest glute strengthening exercises I know. It's very, very chill. Beautiful, lovely stuff. So then we're going to do a lying twist. So taking your feet about as wide as your mat. Maybe a little bit wider, maybe a little bit less wide. Feel what feels right for you. And then rolling onto your inner and outer edges of your feet. And noticing how there's lengthening that goes on. As you take your knees to the right, the lengthening will be on the left side of your lower back and maybe in your left quad. Left hip flexor, deep hip flexor. And then going to the other side, and you can roll your head in the other direction as well. And this twisting motion is something we do when we walk. So if we notice we're swinging our arms and we're swinging our legs and they're swinging in opposition, which means our rib cage and our pelvis oppose each other in the twisting plane as we walk. And this kind of tunes in to that movement and noticing, is it easier for you to twist one way? And does the other way feel stiffer? And noticing that for yourself, it's really often enough to notice and continue to practice, and the body kind of harmonizes itself. It starts to create more symmetry and more balance. But you need to kind of see it to be able to change it. That's why the yoga practice is so good. Okay, and then coming back up to center line, and the last posture we're going to do is to use these blocks, and I recommend using the support of the blocks. I'm tilting them slightly so they don't dig in. And you can alternatively loop the belt, this circle belt, around your knees instead if you don't have blocks. So I'll show you that as well. But having the blocks as a support can be really nice, particularly if there's an imbalance in your pelvis or in your legs that causes you to kind of swing or sway to one side. But if this will balance you, if you don't have that kind of swinging, swaying, then you can use the belt if you can balance through the center. And using the belt looks like this. You might give yourself a bit more slack than me. It pulls the feet together. It kind of secures the sacrum in a really, really nice way. And but if you find, oh, one leg is rolling down and the other leg is rolling up, then that's not the right one for you. You need to use the blocks. And some of you might be like, I don't want to use any props. I used to be like that when I first started practicing yoga, but props are good. But if you want to, if your back feels happy to, and you can keep your big toes pressing together and your inner balls of your feet pressing together, then you don't have to use props. You can use your inner strength of abdominal muscles and pelvic floor to hold your knees a little bit up, yeah? So they're not completely flopping out with your big toes not touching. You want to have a little bit of strength there holding you to your center. And relax, breathe, soften in your jaw and your face. As your pelvis relaxes and finds more space, allow your jaw to relax and find more space as well. So you might keep your mouth closed, but kind of drop your lower jaw away from your upper jaw. And really focusing inwardly on your breath and how your breath can travel down into your belly. Diaphragm pushes down into your belly, and that feeling of being able to breathe into your hips and your thighs, even into your knees and your feet, even though obviously the breath is not going there, but the sense of breath energy, of prana, it can go all the way down to your feet and beyond. If you hear little kind of tummy noises, it's a really good sign that you're relaxing. So allowing everything to just be unwinding, releasing and melting. Might take your hands on your belly or your hands on your lower ribs. Keep your big toes together. Really feel the breath energy moving through your body. Feel that lovely movement of prana. It's like a flow or a wave that can nourish every cell. Lovely, and you can of course stay here longer if you like. And when you do decide to finish your cobbler pose practice, spend a little time with your knees bent, your feet in line with your knees and your hips, breathing here. You could have your legs straight if that feels nice for your back. Could have your legs up on a sofa if you want. And just give your body this deep rest, balancing the activity and exercise with deep and nourishing rest. Our body needs both of these things for balance and harmony and health. So I really encourage you to stay longer in Shavasana, in deep relaxation. You could even put on a relaxation track and go for it. Really rest. It's so, so good for you. And when you're ready to come up, remembering to come up from your side, reaching one arm up behind you, rolling over onto that side, spending a little bit of time there so you're not in a rush. And then coming up to sitting when you're ready. Namaste.